Hello and welcome back. In this session, we are actually going to model the Ashoka chakra. We had actually seen this model in our previous session. If required, I will just open and show it. Come to File, Open. If it asks for save, click Don't Save here. And in the link that has been provided in the description, you have one 4 Ashoka wheel file. Select it and click Open. Now, you can see this is what we are going to model today. So, this is the model we are going to create today. So, let us see how we can work on this. So, to begin with, let us go to File, New General. We have the default cube here. Press X and delete it. The next thing is, as you all know, we will come to the top view. You know already that to come to the top view, we are going to press 7 on our keyboard, that is numpad. So, when you click on numpad 7, I have come to the top view. Or otherwise, sometimes if you are working on a laptop and if you doesn't have a numpad, in that case, if you come to edit preferences, in preferences in inputs, in this list, if you come to input, you have one option called emulate numpad. You can switch this option on if you want to use the number 1, 2, 3 on your keyboard as the numpad numbers. However, I will actually deselect it as of now and I will close this. So, to begin with, let us explore the model that we are supposed to create today. So, for this reason, I will again come to File, Open, Recent and I will select this Ashoka chakra wheel. If it asks to save, I will click Don't Save. See, basically this entire thing consists of 3 main components. One is the outer wheel and the second is the spokes and the third is the sphere at the center. The sphere is very simple, it is just a UV sphere that has been created. Now, the first thing we are going to design is this outer wheel. See, in this outer wheel, if you see the proportions, the proportion of the outer wheel diameter to its thickness is 1:0.05. That is, if the diameter of this wheel is 10 units, then the thickness is 0.5 units. And here the radius of or this every that is whatever circle you are seeing, these are also approximately 0.5 units and you have all these spokes whose maximum diameter is 0.4 units and its length is 4 units. That is, in the entire radius of this entire circle is 5 units and in 5 units this thickness is 4 units. So, these are the dimensions that we are now going to first analyze. So, once we are thorough with these dimensions, now let us start our modeling. So, again I will come back here, File, New, General and I will click Don't Save to save not to save the previous file. Now, come back here, File, Save As. The first thing, always remember to save your file. In your folder, I will give this the name as My Ashoka chakra. I have given it the name and I will save it. So, after saving it, the first thing is I will select this cube, press X and I will delete it. I will start by creating a cylinder. You already know that the objects are created using the add menu here. The keyboard shortcut is Shift plus A. Press Shift plus A, come to mesh and you are going to create a cylinder. As soon as you create the cylinder, you have this add cylinder option open here. I will open this option and now here I will set the radius of this cylinder to 5 meters. It means that the diameter of this cylinder is 10 because radius is half of diameter. I will set the number of vertices to 48. Why am I setting it to 48? This you will understand it later. I will give this reason later. I have set it to 48 and depth I am going to set it to 0.5, because this depth is 5% of the total diameter. That is, if the diameter is 10, the depth is 0.5. So, we have given these three values and then our first object cylinder is ready. Now, I am going to name this cylinder here. I will come over here, double click on the name and I will give it the name as outer wheel. So, and I will open this. Inside this, the object data that we call this as object data. We will deal this with later. However, I am now just going to rename this as mesh underscore outer wheel. So, remember to give correct names in your scene, so that it will be easy for you to identify the object as you start building the model. Always remember to name your model in the correct way before you start working on it. So, now I have created this outer wheel cylinder. However, I want this like a ring. I doesn't want this to be like a cylinder. So, there are two ways of cutting the inner portion of this cylinder. One way is by using the boolean operation. So, for this what we do is we simply go and press shift plus A and we are going to add a new cylinder. And now, for this new cylinder, instead of its radius set to 5 meters, I am going to set it to 4.5 meters and the depth I am going to change it to 1 meter. So, you have two cylinders now. One is the outer wheel and the other the inner wheel, which is actually set to 4.5 meter radius and a thickness of 1 meter. Now, what you can do is to create this ring, I can select this outer wheel, come to the modifier here and in add modifier, I am going to choose a modifier here called as boolean. I am going to select this boolean modifier. The purpose of boolean modifier is it is either going to unite or subtract or create the difference, intersect, union and difference. You will have three options for a boolean, and in boolean the parameter that we are going to select here is an object. You can see that the operand type you have collection and object. I have chosen it as object, and here in the object I will take this ink filler, ink dropper, and I am going to just click on this cylinder. Now, I have chosen difference. Right now, you are not seeing any difference here because this cylinder is object has to be hidden. If I hide this, now you can see what has happened. From the outer wheel, this cylinder has been actually subtracted. Okay. The other option you have is union, means both get merged into one object. With middle mouse pressed, I just turn the angle and I will show it to you. See, both gets merged. Intersect means only the intersecting area of the two objects you can see here. So, I will set it back to difference, and if I click apply here, this will be applied. So, this is one way of creating this outer ring. However, we are not going to use this way. I am going to cancel this. The other way that we can work on this is using the edit mode. You already know that any object that we create in Blender, we are going to work in two modes. Basically, there are other modes also, but for the modeling purpose, we are going to work it with two modes. One is the object mode. We are right now in the object mode. If I press tab on the keyboard, as soon as I press tab, see, we entered into edit mode. We have some extra tools appearing here, and also we have three options here. vertex, edge and face. This I think I have already shown you in the previous class. Now, I will come to face selection here, click somewhere outside like this to deselect everything, and I am going to select the top face, and then I am going to press middle mouse and turn it a little like this, and with shift press, see shift is pressed, I select the other face. So, I have selected both the faces, and actually in object mode you have a mode here or a tool here called as insert. See, you have extrude, you have inset faces, and the keyboard shortcut for this is I. I will press I, and if I drag it, you can see that the faces are insetting into the existing face. If I drag a particular size like this and if I leave it, if I want this to be inserted exactly by 0.5 units, I can come to this menu inset faces and type 0.5 and press enter. So, now we have both the faces has been inset. Now, next what I will do is I will press X and I am going to choose delete faces. Now, what happened was this entire face has been deleted. Now, again you are seeing the same ring. So, instead of boolean, now we have used the edit mode, we have used inset face, and we have achieved the same thing. However, in this case the problem we are having is, you can see this inner surface of this ring is not closed. See, this is not closed, this is open. I want this inner surface to be closed. How can I close it is, one way is I have to first select all the edges here. You can see the edges. So, I will come to edge selection mode, and I am going to select these edges one by one. However, now what happens is, so if I want to add to the selection, I will press shift and I will start selecting, and you can see the edges are getting selected and getting added. However, this is a very long process. I want this to be selected faster. Then the other way is, I will deselect everything, I will select an edge, and then instead of shift, if I press Ctrl on your keyboard, and then say for example, I will take some edge at somewhere at this point, okay, I will bring here, with Ctrl pressed, if I click, see you can see all the edges in between are selected. Then what is the job of this control is, you can see here, pick the shortest path. So, now if I press Ctrl and if I press here, see what happens is, it won't select in this order, but it will go back like this, and hence when I click Ctrl and when I select this, see this part is not selected at all, because understand the logic here, shortest path means it won't take this path, it will take this path. So, what I have to do is with Ctrl, if I click here, now you can see this part is selected, you can see, and then I will press Ctrl and click till here. So, now the entire edge is selected, you can see the complete edge is selected. However, this is also a very tedious process. The other way of selection you have is, I can just click here to deselect everything. I can select any of the edge here, come to select here, that is select, and in select you have select loops, edge loops. So, if I click on this, you can see all the edges are now selected. Okay. So, this is the easiest way to make a selection. See, if I select this edge and if I come here select and choose select loops edge loop, you can now see the selection is vertical like this. It depends upon where you are doing your selection. However, if I select this edge and if I go to select loop edge loop, this edge loop is selected. Okay. And remember, I will deselect it. The keyboard shortcut is press Alt and click on any edge. That is it. The entire loop is selected. Now, what I want? I want this edge and this edge to be connected. So, if I select this complete edge loop, I will press Alt. To add to the selection, I will press Shift also, and I will come over here and I will select the top edge loop. Now, both the edge loops are selected. Now, my idea is if I select like this and if I press F, if I click fill, I expect this to fill like this, but it is not going to happen. So, see what happens if I press F. See, instead of filling the vertical gap there, it filled the entire face like this. This is not what I needed. So, I will go to edit and I will choose undo, and if you want to fill this vertically, then one way of doing is I can select this with shift pressed, I can select this and press F. So, it got filled. I will select this and I will select this and I will press F, it got filled. So, if I go like this, this will take a lot of time. There is another keyboard, that is short way of doing this. For this, I will press Ctrl Z twice to remove these two selections, and then I am now again going to press Alt and I will select the bottom edge loop. With Shift Alt pressed, I will select the top edge loop, and with both the edge loops selected, I will come to edge, and you have one option here, bridge edge loops. So, when I click on bridge edge loop, see what happens? See, these things are bridged. So, these are the options that we have to remember as we are doing modeling. So, now we have the same structure available what we achieved by boolean. We have this ring ready. Now, I will come to the top view and I will come to file and I will again save this. Now, the next thing is, if you see our model here, if I come back to this Ashoka wheel, you can see that we need this circular projection, and the number of circular projection here are 24. I want this to be present on the outer wheel. How are we going to do it? I will go to file, open recent, and I will open my Ashoka chakra file. Now, to create it, again here what we are now going to do is, I will press tab and I will come to object mode now, so that this outer wheel is in object mode, and then I will press shift A and I will create a new cylinder. This cylinder, the radius I will keep it at 0.5 meters, and I will set its depth also to 0.5 meters, because the depth of my outer ring is also 0.5 meters. And the number of vertices is 32. I will reduce it to around 16. Okay. And after this, or let us leave this at 32 only. Okay. Now, the next thing is, I want this circle to be placed at, I will press shift and middle mouse and drag it at this point. Okay. Now, do some mathematics. See, I have added the cylinder with 0.5 meter depth, 0.5 meter radius and 32 vertices, and to make it sit here, the radius of this is 5. Okay. And in 5 radius, I want this to move 0.5 inside, means 5 minus 0.5 is 4.5. So, what I will now do is along this green axis. What is this green axis? It is y. So, along the y, I will move this by 4.5 units. So, now you can see this came and sat exactly here. Now, what I need is, I need this to be repeated all along this surface 24 times. So, I want this to move along this surface 24 pieces. There are many ways to do this. One is, I select this, I will press Shift D and I will move it and place another one here. However, I want this to be placed at a precise distance. So, what I will now do is, I will go to edit and I will undo this. Instead of this, I will again press Shift plus D, duplicate, and this time I will press R to rotate and Z to rotate. But now you can see it is rotating. You can see the copy is here and the copy is rotating on its own axis here. Okay. I doesn't want it to rotate along the own axis. I will right click and cancel this rotation. Then I will also press X and delete of this extra cylinder. Now, I will select this cylinder again. I want this to rotate along this axis. So, this is where the origin point comes into the picture. Right now, the origin point you can see is here. I want this origin point here. How to do it? Select the object, and in object you have one option, set origin, and I am going to set this origin to 3D cursor. So, now the origin point has shifted over here. Now, if I press Shift plus D and duplicate it, I will press R and I will rotate it. Okay. And the rotation angle I will set it to minus 15. Okay. Now, if I again press Shift D, I will duplicate it and again I will set rotate Z minus 15. Sorry, it should be plus 15 now. Okay. So, I will plus 15. Now, the thing is, like this I can go on duplicating it. This is one way of doing, or otherwise I will select both these rings with Shift pressed. I will select both, press X and I will delete it. There is one more way of doing this, that is using a modifier, and the modifier here we are going to use is array. So, if I click on array, now what happens is, by default 2 objects are created at a distance of 1 unit. If I want this, how many of these blocks I need? I have to do some mathematics. I will open the calculator, and in the calculator the total that is the radius of this entire circle is 360 degree, the total angle. So, 360 degree divided by how many numbers I need? 24. Okay. Means everything I have to rotate it by 15 units. So, I need 24 of these blocks, not 1 or 2, I need 24 of these cylinders. But right now these cylinders are moving by 1 unit. See, it is moving by 1 unit horizontally. I want it to move it all around this outer wheel. So, what I have to now do is, I will set this factor back to 0, so that all are at the center. You have one option here called as object offset. I will enable this object offset, I will open this, and in the object here I will take this ink picker and I will select this actual outer wheel as the object offset. And now what I will do is I will open the transform window, and in rotation along the z axis I will start rotating. See, as I rotate, you can see all these 24 models are moving, and now you already know that 360 divided by 24 is 15. So, if I rotate this z exactly by 15 degree, you can now see 24 of these cylinders actually applied all over the circle. Okay. So, this is done. So, now you have this applied all over the circle. Now, the next thing is we are now going to come here, and in array if you click apply, see this entire thing has been converted into an object. Okay. Now, what I need is I want this object and this object to be merged. So, I will select the outer wheel. I will again come here and select, with shift pressed I will select this, that is this other wheel, and then I will go to object, and here there is an option called join. So, when I click on join, see what happened, both became one single object. So, now to see this drawing, it appears to you as a good drawing. See, there is no issue, this appears to be good. However, if you come into the wireframe mode, now you can see that if you come and have a look here closely, you have vertices. If I come to the vertices, if I select this entire object, press tab and come into edit mode, and in vertices if I see, I have so many vertices inside, see, which are not required. See, these vertices are not required. This is not the shape we want. I doesn't want these vertices at all. I don't want these vertices at all. So, the other way you will have these issues when we are going to create these models for gaming. If you leave these kind of extra vertices, when you do certain operations like beveling or something, this is going to create a lot of problem. This is not a good geometry. Although, if I come to object mode and if I see it in this shaded view, this appears to be fine, but this is not a good geometry. Now, to make this geometry better, we are going to do some tweaking, and as we do this tweaking, you are going to understand some very important concepts in modeling. So, now what we are now going to do is let us undo everything. I will go to undo and I will keep undoing it until the two objects are merged. See, I will keep on undoing. Okay. As I undo it, now you can see I want this outer wheel, and see now cylinder 1 and outer wheel are separate. So, I have undone some 10 to 12 times, and now I will select this outer cylinder and I will delete it. I do not need it, and I will now come back to this outer wheel. Now, in the structure of this mesh, what I want is, if I come to the wireframe view, I will come to the top view, sorry 7 and top view. See, now already you are seeing this square blocks. Now I will explain you correctly why when we created the cylinder, say for example shift A, I will come to mesh, and when I created the cylinder, I set the number of vertices to 48. You might remember. Why did I set it to 48 is, I need 24 wheels, that is 24 of this projection, circular projection. So, I have added exactly double amount 48. So, because of this, right now the cylinder I will press Ctrl Z and cancel it. Now, here I have for that is these pieces I have totally 48 pieces. So, this entire object outer circle is made up of 44 of this 48 of these square blocks. You are seeing every square block here. Now, our structure should be such a way that if I come to top view, one of the block here will have a circular structure like this, and one will have a straight structure like this, and similar to this I need 24 copies. So, the best way to do this modeling is, so now what I have to do is, the first thing I am going to do is, right now you can see this box is set to the corner here. I will select this entire outer wheel. Along the rotation, I am going to rotate this in such a way. See, as I rotate along the z axis, you can see this is rotating. I want this to be exactly to the center of this every that is block. How am I going to do is, we already did the calculation and we know that 15 degrees is the angle for 24 parts, and here we have 48 parts, means this every angle is rotated by half of 15, which is 7.5. So, every block here is rotated by 7.5 degrees, and I want half of 7.5 degree, means what I have to do here, along the z axis 7.5 divided by 2 and press enter. So, now you are exactly to the center of this box. Now, the next thing I want is, now I am going to concentrate only on 2 blocks. Okay. So, that is why what I will now do is, I will select this object, come into edit mode, or I will press tab and come into edit mode. I will see that this toggle X-ray is on and I am in the wireframe view. I will just roll the mouse and I will zoom it out, and I will select, I will come to vertex selection mode. I will drag a box and select all the vertices. See, I am going to select with shift pressed, I am going to select all the vertices except these 2 blocks. See, except these 2 blocks, I am going to select all other vertices. See, the other way of selecting this is very tough. I have to come here, drag it. So, the other easier way is, there is a circular selection tool here. You can see here, sorry, not this one, in the selection box, if you click and hold, you have select circle option, or otherwise press C on your keyboard. So, when you press C on your keyboard, you are going to see a circle. Now, what I can do is, I can just leaving these 2 blocks, if I just click and drag, you can see everything is added on to my selection. Again I will click and I will add it. See, I can add it like this with shift and middle mouse. Now, to cancel this circle selection, nothing will operate when the circle selection is on. I have to right click, then press shift, and I have to again make the selection. Okay. To make the selection, press C and then keep on selecting like this. Okay. However, this is also a very long process. The best way is, I will right click, I will come back here, I will click somewhere to deselect it. Now, what I will do is, I will press A to select everything. When I press A, everything is selected. Now, again I am going to press C, and pressing C, instead of pressing the left mouse, I will press the middle mouse and I am going to deselect only these block. Okay, this is very easy. So, by this you are practicing about how to do selections and deselection, and with all the vertices selected, I will press, I will again have to right click or press escape to come out of this selection mode, or otherwise other keys won't work. So, I will press escape or right click to cancel it, then I will press X and I will choose delete vertices. So, when I delete the vertices, now what happened is, if I come back to the shaded view and if I see this, I am just now left with 2 blocks. I now have just 2 blocks. See, I will come to top view 7 and I have just 2 blocks here. And now what I am now going to do is, I want this to be a circle. So, for this I will come out from edit mode to object mode. See, the outer wheel now, instead of the entire wheel, we have only these 2 blocks now in the outer wheel. Now, what I will do is, I will press shift plus A, come to mesh, and I am now going to add another cylinder. See, I added one more cylinder, and here I am going to set this cylinder radius is set to 0.5 and depth is set to 0.5, and number of vertices I will reduce it to 32. Okay. So, the radius is set to 0.5, depth thickness is set to 0.5, and after this I am going to move up like the last time along the y axis by 4.5 meters. So, this came and sat on this surface. However, now you can see this cylinder is very big compared to this box. So, I am going to reduce the radius a little. Okay. I will see that this comes approximately, okay, comes, and I will come to wireframe view here. So, this should fit this box. I will set the radius to around 0.3. So, if I set it to not even 0.3, 0.295. Okay, if I set it to 0.295, this is approximately coming and sitting exactly to this box. Okay. And after this, now what I will do is, with this cylinder created, now I will come to edit mode, and in edit mode with vertex selection on, I will drag a box here. Okay. So, with vertex selection on in edit mode, one second. Okay, here I have to choose the select box option. So, if I have used tweak, this box is not working. You can see, I have to choose this select box option. Now, if I drag this, you can see all the vertices on the top are selected. Remember, this option toggle X-ray has to be on. See, now then only both the edge vertices will be selected, or else what happens is, I will come back to top view, I will switch off this toggle X-ray, I will deselect everything and I will again make the selection. Now, if toggle X-ray is off, then you can see that only the top vertices are selected, but the bottom vertices is not selected. So, that is why I will come back to 7 top view, I will switch on toggle X-ray, and then I am going to drag and make a selection. So, after making the selection, I will press X on the keyboard and I will delete off all the vertices. So, now all the vertices are now deleted. Now, what I want is, I want now in this, if I press A, this entire object is selected, I will press G and Y and move it a little, so that this sits exactly over, you can see this object. See, it should sit exactly here. If required, you drag it and see it. So, if the dimensions are correctly maintained, then it should not be an issue. It should sit exactly like this. So, with this now, I will press tab, and now what I will do is, with this cylinder one selected, which with shift pressed, I will select this outer wheel. Now, outer wheel is the active object, and then I will come here in the object mode and I will click join. So, now what happened? You can see these two objects are joined as one single object. Now, although this has become one single object, say for example, this entire thing is one object now, I will come to edit mode, and in vertex mode, see, I select the vertex here. Okay. I will press G and drag it. You can see that there are two vertices here which are separate. Although this is one object, the vertices are not welded properly. So, I will right click and cancel this move. The best way to weld all these vertices together is select in vertex mode. In edit mode, I will press A and select all the vertices. Then right click here, and you have an option here, merge vertices, and in merge vertices choose merge by distance. So, when you click this option and then you have 0.001, slightly increase this length by clicking on the right side. So, as I click, now you can see here that this has removed 4 vertices. Now, if required, slightly increase little more, again another 4 vertices are removed. So, like this you keep on increasing it till you doesn't see much of a difference in the shape. So, now what's happened? You can see the structure has got, you see the distortion in the structure. Now, you just undo it. I will undo it. So, now the thing is, if I come back to vertex mode, deselect everything, and now if I select this vertex and if I move it with G, no, still this is not connected, I will right click, or otherwise I can even zoom in and I can select these two vertices like this, right click and choose merge vertices at center. See, now these two has got merged into one vertex. So, either I can use by distance, or I can even select these two, right click and choose merge vertices at center. Okay. And now, if I move it, see, this is merged as one vertex. I will right click. So, like this I can do it at all the 4 corners here. So, right now if I select this vertex and if I move it, you can see it is moving separately. Okay. I will right click it. I will drag a box here and I will select both these vertices. I will now right click, choose merge vertices at center, and now you can see this is combined as one single object. So, like this we can merge these vertices. So, we now have one last vertex to merge here. So, if I select this vertex, press G, see, this is not merged. Again here in vertex mode, I will draw a box here and select both these vertices, then right click, merge vertices but center, and now this has been merged. I can now move it and see this is merged. I will right click and cancel it. So, now all the vertices are now merged together. Now, I will come to the top view, and if you come to the shaded view, now you can see this top area face is missing. We are not seeing this face. So, what we have to now do is, I will come back to this wireframe mode. I will now select these 2 vertices. Now, say for example, I will select this entire object. I will press tab to come into edit mode. In edge mode, I doesn't want this edge, and also with shift pressed I doesn't want this edge also. I will press X and if I click delete edge, but now what has happened is when I click delete edge, see all these faces are gone. We already know how to fill it. I need not fill this inner face, this one. I will now select the edge and I will select the 4 edges here. I will press F to fill it, and then on the top view with the edge selection, I will press Alt and I will click on this edge on the top. So, you see this entire looped edge is selected. Then with shift pressed, I will not press the Alt, I will select this edge and this edge, 3 edges. Then now I am going to press F. See, this entire thing got filled. So, similarly here I will press Alt and I will select this entire looped edge. With shift pressed, I will select this edge and this edge and this edge, and I will press F. So, now we have got this structure. Okay. And also here I can even remove this edge, but let us leave it as it is, let us not disturb it. So, I have one piece of this now available. I will press tab and I will come back to object mode. I will press 7 and come to top view, and now I want this, I will repeat it 24 times. But right now to repeat it 24 times, this should get repeated along this axis. Okay. So, for this I am going to add a helper, so that when I do the array, it is going to rotate along this axis. So, for this what I am going to do is, I am going to press shift plus A, and in mesh, in empty, you have one empty, I am going to add a plane axis. This is called as empty. I need not rename it because I am not going to, I am using this temporarily. I have placed this location is 0 0 0, exactly at the center of the origin. I have this empty. Now, I will select this outer wheel, and for this outer wheel again I am going to come to the modifier and I am going to choose the array modifier, and again I need 24 of these pieces. So, right now you can see what has happened. All the 24 pieces are running in a straight line, you can see. However, I want these 24 pieces to be circular. That is the reason why I added this helper. Now, I will set this fraction everything 0 0 0. Okay, all the 24 pieces are one above the other now. I will come to object offset. I will enable object offset. I will select this infiller and I will select this empty object. And after I select this empty object, now I am going to move along the z axis and rotate it like last time by 15 degree. So, when I rotate it by 15 degree, now what happened? The entire thing is now looped together. I will now come to array and I will click apply, and then I will select this empty. I no more need this empty. I will select it, press X and delete it off. So, now the difference between the old boolean object and this object is, if I come to the wireframe now, you can see how clean and clear it is. If you compare the old one, you had unwanted vertices, but whereas here you have only the required vertices. Okay. However, these faces are not all quads. That I will come to what is quad and what is triangular faces. These things we will discuss it later, but right now this structure seems to be good. Okay. Now, once again here, as these models are getting attached to one another, you will have repetitive vertices. So, if I select this outer wheel, come into edit mode, and in edit mode, in vertex mode, if you can see it, if I press A and select all the vertices, if I right click and choose merge vertices by distance, you can now see about 48 vertices are now removed. So, you just apply this, then go to file and choose save. Now, the next thing is not so much complicated. We have to next create this spokes. So, to create the spokes now, what we are now again going to do is, in the top view, I will again press shift plus A, come to mesh, and I will add another cylinder, and this cylinder I will set its radius to around 0.2, okay, because I need 0.4 diameter. So, I am going to set it to, or I will set the radius 0.2, so that its diameter is 0.4, and then I will set its depth to around 4 meters. I will set it to 4 meters, and the number of vertices let it be 32, but only thing is, now I want this to be, now if I press middle mouse and rotate it, this is moving 4 meters in this direction. I want it to move it along the y direction. So, along the x axis, in rotation along x, I will change it to 90 degree, and then along the y axis I want to move it. See, this length is 4 meters. I need to move it by 2 meters to bring it to the center here. Okay, along the y, if I move it to by 2 meters, it comes to the center, but I doesn't want it exactly at the center. I need it a small gap here. So, I will make it move by 2.5, and you can see now it is going and touching exactly here. Okay. So, now our cylinder is ready. So, making this cylinder ready, now I am going to name this cylinder as the spokes. This is the spokes that we are going to create. So, right now again, if you come to this outer wheel, see, this is rotated by 15 degree here. Okay. I will rotate it by 0, okay, this along the z axis. Not only 0, I have to rotate it by 7.5 degree, or half of 7.5, that is 7.5 divided by 2, no, this is sitting exactly here now. I have to rotate it by another 3.75 into 2. Sorry, some problem is there. See, I have to make it sit exactly like this, means I have to set this, I will set it to 0 first. See, this is here, okay. I want this to come exactly to the center, okay. So, for this, initial angle of this was 50. See, now you can see this is rotated by 15 degree, or what I have to do is I have to rotate it by 3.75 degree, another that is plus 3.75 I have to rotate, okay, 7.5 another 3.5 plus 3.75, okay. See, 11.3 degree, that is 3.75 into 3, this is bringing me this to the center. So, these are some of the mathematical calculations that we have to do, because I had to move this by 3 places, okay. That is why I have to make this adjustment. So, now I want this rotation of this outer wheel to be applied, means this should not be 11.3. Then what I can do is I will press Ctrl A, and here you have apply, and I will click apply rotation. Now, what happens is this becomes the default 0 rotation, okay. So, that the values here are all 0. I have set all these values to 0. Now, the next thing coming to these spokes now, these spokes, I want these spokes 24 copies all around this. So, again for this what I am now going to do is, I think I can make use of this outer wheel itself as the this thing reference. So, what I will now do is, I will select this spokes. Before I apply the array, I have to see I have moved it by 2.5 meters and the center of this cylinder is placed here. I want the center of origin of this cylinder to be here. So, for this I will select the cylinder, I will come to object, set origin, origin to 3D cursor. So, the location is set to 0, 0, 0, and even rotation I will press Ctrl A and I will apply the rotation, so that all these values are 0. So, after this, now selecting this cylinder, that is spokes, I will come to add modifier and I am going to add an array and I will set the number of count to 24. Let this form factor be 0, so that all the 24 are here only now. As of now, I will again choose object offset and I will select this ink picker and I will select this object. And after I select this object, if I now rotate along the z axis, you can now see this spokes is rotating along the z axis, and how much I have to rotate, you already know, by 15 degree, because 24 into 15 is 360 degrees. So, now you have 360, that is these spokes rotated all over. If I come back to shaded view, see, this is appearing a little messy because I doesn't want this object to be a cylinder. If you see in our original object, the top and the bottom of this cylinder should be actually pointed. Okay. So, for that what we are going to do is, with spoke selected, come to edit mode. Now, in edit mode, you can see that this is our original mesh. See, this is the original mesh, and in the original mesh, now what I will do is, I will press Ctrl R. See, Ctrl R means you are going to add an edge loop. You can see I have added one new edge loop here, and if I roll the mouse twice, you will have 2. If I roll again, you will have 3. These are called as edge loops. So, we are going to discuss it in detail in our next lesson. I will just right click to cancel it. As of now, I will again press Ctrl R and add only one loop. I will press it, and second thing is setting the position of this. I will set it position somewhere over here, that is at 33%. See, here you have number of cuts 1, I can increase it to 3, 4 like this. I will keep it at 1. Okay. And then the next thing here is, what I need is, I have this synchronizing, smoothness is set to 0, and in the form factor I will set it to minus 0.33, because 1 divided by 3, I want it to be at the 1/3 position. That is why I have set it to 1, or I can directly type here 1 divided by 3 and press enter. Okay. Because it went to the other end now. What I have to do is, I have to only change this value with minus. Okay. It comes on this end. So, I added an edge loop here. Okay. This is fine. I will click somewhere and this is applied. Now, next thing what I will do is, I will see this toggle X-ray is on, and in edit mode, I am going to now come to vertex selection mode. I am going to select all the vertices at the bottom here, and I am going to go to vertex, or even I can right click on this, and in the menu you have one merge vertices option. I will choose it at center. Now, see what happened, all the vertices merge to a center. Now, same thing I will do on the other end. I will select all the vertices here, right click, merge vertices to center. Okay, what happens if you want to see? I will press, I will right click, okay, and I will just rotate and show it to you. See, now right now it is like this. If I right click and choose merge vertices at center, everything will get merged to the center. So, now if I press tab and if I press 7 and come to top view, our spokes are ready. See, finally what I am going to do, I have this array, I will click apply, the array has been applied. And now the last part is very simple, just press shift A, mesh and add one UV sphere. Only thing is set this UV sphere radius to around 0.5 divided by 2, because 0.5 should be the diameter. I am dividing it by 2 to make it the radius. So, I will press enter. So, I have this center UV sphere, and then let the segment be 32 rings, leave those things as it is, and for this sphere you name it as center. I am going to name it as center. So, we have outer wheel, spokes and center. So, we have 3 objects here. The entire thing is ready. The final part is I am going to switch off this X-ray view. See, the entire model is ready. I want this to appear like a gold. You see some roughness over here. To avoid this roughness, I will select outer wheel, I will right click, and you have an option here, shade smooth. So, when I click on shade smooth, you can see some distortion happening. You can avoid this by coming to this object data here, and in object data you have normals. In auto smooth, enable this and set this angle to 30 degrees. So, now these surfaces will appear smoother. Okay. So, same thing for to these spokes, I will right click and in shade smooth, this is fine, this I doesn't have much of a problem, but still I come to normal and I will enable auto smooth, and even for this sphere I am going to choose auto smooth. I will apply shade smooth and I will enable auto smooth. Now, the final thing that I want here to be done is I have to apply the materials. So, to apply the material, I will come in the top view, and here in the material tab I will create a new material and I am going to call this as gold, and then in base color I am going to change this color to something like oranges red, like this, some oranges red gold color like this. So, let us choose this color, and after this the next thing is I am going to, you are not seeing any difference because I am in shaded view, you already know this. I have to come to viewport shading. However, this does not appears like gold now, it appears like plastic. So, if you want it to appear like gold, I have to increase the metallic value here, and then you have roughness here, I have to decrease roughness. So, if I decrease roughness and increase metallic, now you can see this is appearing like a real gold material. So, similarly, I will select this inner spokes and give it the same material gold, and also for this sphere I am going to give it the material gold. So, now our wheel is ready. So, we have the wheel Ashoka chakra ready. So, with this, go to file and choose save to save this. So, while making this Ashoka chakra, we understood many concepts about edge loop, we understood about merging the vertices, we understood how we actually can that is minimize the number of vertices by reshaping this entire outer wheel. So, we have discussed all these factors. Now, go to file and choose save, and with this, this session is over. In our next session, we are going to model a little more complicated objects like a headphone. Let us continue with our next session. Thank you.